Chapter 25. Raiken's Pav. Perched on a weathered hill overlooking the kingdom of Ingrasha, I felt the pull of my past as keenly as the chill wind biting at my cloak. I had come here chasing whispers of other worlders, particularly Miho, her name a faint echo in my heart. Yet, as I gazed at the distant horizon, my thoughts drifted back to Tempest, my city, my burden, my home. The past 2 years had forged me in fire, and no memory burned brighter than the battle against Charybdis, a clash that tested every ounce of my strength and resolve. It had begun with chaos. 2 years ago, I was reborn as a slime in a world both wondrous and unforgiving. After defeating the orc disaster, Geld, I welcomed his kin into Tempest. Within a month, I declared them citizens and named them, their gratitude transforming into tireless labor. A month-long construction project was completed in a week, their hammers ringing with purpose. Their loyalty drew others: goblins, lizardmen, beastmen seeking refuge in Jura Forest. I hadn't sought the mantle of protector, but their hopeful eyes bound me to it. Responsibility, I learned, was a chain I couldn't break. Gabaru, the brash lizardman heir, was another storm. Manipulated by Laelis, he rebelled against his father, only to be banished. His loyal followers, ever chanting his praises, followed him into exile. When Benimaru saved him, Gabiru's arrogance softened into admiration. He swore to follow Benimaru, departing for Ravenwood Forest with his sister and retinue. I respected his stubborn loyalty, even if his theatrics grated. Another memory flared: King Gazel Dwargo's arrival. Sasaki had warned me of 500 Pegasi knights from Dworgen, so I met them with Kokuyu, Himiko, Akari, Sasaki, and Kojira. Gazel, regal and skeptical, challenged me to prove my claim as ruler of the forest. Trainee appeared, offering to judge our duel. Our swords clashed in a whirlwind of steel, his skill pushing me to my limits. When he unleashed his strongest double slash, I parried, drawing on Kojira's training. Gazel laughed, impressed. "You held back, didn't you?" "I used only my swordsmanship," I replied. "Skills are part of you," he countered. We signed a technological support treaty after I showed him our 99% pure potions. The next day, he sent scientists led by Vesta, exiled for their disruptive bickering. With their aid, Tempest grew into a capital, shielded by my barrier against debuffs. Then came Milam Nava. I was savoring hot chocolate when her magicals 10 times my own crashed into my senses. Using shadow movement, I met her at Tempest's edge as she landed with a thunderous boom. Platinum-pink hair gleamed, her blue eyes a mix of innocence and power. "I'm Demon Lord Milam Nava. You defeated the Orc Lord. Let's fight. Lose, and you're my subordinate. Great sage, analyze her. Less than her magical output is 10 times yours, master, and she's not serious." Greater than. "I decline," I said coldly. "You're too strong, and I'm not foolish." Her pout was childlike, but her complaint, "You're all having fun, and I'm bored, Noda," revealed her true desire. I offered friendship, and she agreed, insisting only I call her Milam. She moved into Tempest, her chaotic joy brightening my days. We talked for hours, her laughter easing my guarded heart. When I revealed Veldora's seal within me, she promised secrecy, cementing our bond. Milam's presence wasn't without trouble. Once, while Himiko fitted me for a black outfit, a boom shook the city. I found Milam amid a crowd, having punched a beastman, Phobio, for attacking Gobu Ryo. I healed Gobu Ryo, detained Phobio, and scolded Milam to mind the city. In the audience chamber, Phobio sneered, calling me a mere human. My aura silenced him. He admitted his master sent him to recruit Majins. I sent him away, demanding his master come himself. The true test came later. During a meeting with Fuse, Yume, and Noah, a traveling adventurer who had joined Yume by chance, his boisterous claims of being a champion masking a genuine spirit trainee appeared, warning of Charybdis's revival. I refused to flee. "This is my domain. I won't abandon my people." Milam begged to fight, but I insisted Tempest handle it. Noah, rising dramatically, vowed to aid me. We teleported to face Charybdis, a monstrous leviathan dwarfing the sky, its 12 megalodons circling like vultures. My team Geld, Gorbet, Sasaki, Kokuyu, Akari, and Noah was ready. Less than great sage, what are my chances? Greater than. Less than 33.42%. Greater than. Grim, but possible. My subordinates struck first, their attacks a symphony of destruction. Kojira's blade cleaved a megalodon. Akari's odachi sliced another. Sasaki's strings crashed 2 together. Kokuyu's fiery strike incinerated 3. Geld halted one head-on, his squad finishing it. Gorbet lured one into a trap, Ryuga's black lightning striking true. No's massive fireball burned another, and I obliterated the last with a black flame, its heat searing the air. Then I faced Charybdis alone. Its scales gleamed like obsidian, its magicals a suffocating storm. I launched a full-power black inferno, a torrent of dark flames that scorched the heavens. The beast roared, barely scratched. Great sage, why? Less than Charybdis possesses magic jamming, scattering magicals, and asterisk ultraspeed regeneration. Greater than. Magic was useless. I drew my blade, infusing it with aura slash, a physical strike laced with concentrated magicals. I darted forward, my slime form weaving through a barrage of scales that tore the earth apart. Each slash carved gashes into Charybdis, but its wounds closed almost instantly. My muscles burned, my magicals strained, yet I pressed on, dodging razor-sharp scales that screamed through the air. The beast's eyes glowed with malice, its roars shaking my core. Hours bled away. My team, having dispatched the megalodons, watched from below, their faith a silent anchor. No's eyes were wide, his usual bravado replaced by awe. I sensed his gaze, but my focus remained on Charybdis. Its scales struck again, a relentless storm. I countered with shadow movement, flickering in and out of existence to avoid them. My blade danced, each aura slash a desperate bid to outpace its regeneration. Blood pounded in my ears or would have, if I had a human body. My slime form quivered under the strain, but surrender wasn't an option. I needed to end it. Summoning every ounce of strength, I activated gluttony at full power. I launched myself at Charybdis, my form expanding into a writhing mass of darkness. Devour! I roared, my voice echoing with raw determination. My essence enveloped the beast, consuming its chaotic magicals. Pain seared through me, a maelstrom of energy threatening to tear me apart. I gritted my metaphorical teeth, focusing on Great Sage's guidance to stabilize the influx. Charybdis thrashed, its scales slicing into me, but I held fast, draining its core. The beast's struggles weakened. I sensed its core phobia, the beast man from before. I separated him, hurling him 1,000 feet to the ground. He survived, his lycanthrope resilience impressive. Reading his memories, I glimpsed footmen, tear, and Laplace masked figures with sinister motives. I'd need to watch for them. Carrion, spying nearby, caught Phobio. You knew I was here, he said, impressed. I proposed a treaty, and he agreed, making Eurazania and Tempest allies. He left with Phobio, and we returned to Tempest, greeted by cheers. That night, we feasted. Milam, who had slept through the battle, raced to join the food. Noah, his eyes still bright with admiration, approached me. Raiken-sama, your strength. It's unmatched. I'm just a wandering adventurer, but I want to follow you, to serve you. I nodded, accepting his loyalty. Yume, named the champion, who defeated the Orc Lord, began training under Kojira, a fate I pitied. Eurazania's envoys later caused a stir, but Noah and Akari settled it with duels against Grusius and Sophia. Now, in Ingrasha, those battles felt like a lifetime ago. Milam's laughter, Gazel's respect, No's newfound loyalty, they grounded me. But Miho's shadow called me forward. I stood, my resolve firm, and turned toward Tempest. It was time to go home. The air in Ingrasha hung heavy with the weight of departure as I stood at the city gates, Yuki's farewell still warm in my ears. His smile had been a comfort after months in this vibrant, chaotic kingdom, but now, stepping beyond the threshold, an unease coiled in my chest like a serpent. The cobblestone path stretched into the distance, flanked by trees whispering secrets in the evening breeze. I glanced around, ensuring solitude, my hand hovering as I prepared to activate spatial movement to return to Tempest. But something gnawed at me, a nagging instinct, like a splinter lodged in my thoughts. I couldn't shake the memory of the Holy Knight's behavior during my final days in Ingrasha. They had been cordial, even friendly, during our brief interactions, but their frenetic activity in the last week, their guarded glances, and the hushed urgency in their movements, it felt off. Was I overthinking it? The timing was too convenient, too precise. I shook my head, trying to dislodge the paranoia. No, I'm going home. I can't let these thoughts. But then it struck a gut-wrenching lurch, a visceral warning that stole my breath. I gasped, clutching my chest as the world tilted. Less than warning. You are caught within a wide area magical barrier. Spatial alteration abilities connecting to the outside of the barrier are rendered inoperative. Greater than. Great Sage. S cold, mechanical voice cut through my shock. I hadn't even triggered spatial movement, and it was already sealed. My pulse surged, eyes darting across the empty path. The air felt denser, oppressive, as if the very atmosphere conspired against me. Riken-sama, a strained, desperate voice shattered the silence. I spun, my gaze locking onto Sasaki stumbling from the shadow of a gnarled oak. His body was a ruin, blood oozed from deep gashes, his face pale, eyes wide with pain. I sprinted to him, dread tightening my throat. Sasaki, what happened? I knelt, hands hovering over his wounds, unsure where to start. He coughed, voice ragged but urgent. This is just a body double. My real self is safe, don't worry. But, my lord, his eyes met mine, raw with fear. There's an enemy, unimaginable strength. You must escape. Before he could finish, his form shimmered and dissolved into motes of light, leaving only his warning echoing in my mind. My thoughts spun. A body double, an enemy. The world felt like it was closing in, the air growing colder, heavier. A sudden, suffocating aura pressed against my back, an intimidation so potent it was like a physical blow. My senses screamed as a voice smooth, cold, and laced with menace sliced through the silence. I don't think we've met before. Though I'll be saying goodbye soon. I whirled, heart hammering, to face the figure approaching. She was tall, her raven black hair flowing like a dark tide, her purple eyes glinting with predatory intent. Her white robes billowed elegantly, but the armor beneath gleamed with the promise of violence, a rapier gripped in her slender hand. Each step was deliberate, exuding a quiet, terrifying confidence, like a panther stalking its prey. I forced a smile, my adventurer's charm a fragile shield. What business do you have with me, young lady? I'm Riken, just an adventurer. Perhaps you've mistaken me for someone else. My tone was light, but my hand rested on my katana's hilt, muscles coiling. Her eyes widened briefly, a flicker of surprise, before hardening into a blank mask. She removed a monocle, her gaze piercing through me. You're exactly who I'm looking for, leader of the nation of monsters. And that's why we can't have you going home right now. Her words hit like a thunderclap. My facade wavered as my monstrous instincts bristled, sensing the overwhelming malice radiating from her. This wasn't just a knight, this was a predator, her aura a venomous cloud that made my blood run cold. Nice to meet you, I said, voice steady despite the storm within. Captain of the Western Saints Church Imperial Guard, Hinata Sakaguchi, I presume. Her lips twitched, a ghost of amusement. Pleased to meet you, commander of the monster nation, she mocked. Your country is a nuisance. So we've decided to obliterate it. And that's why you can't go home. Obliterate Tempest. My heart stuttered, but I kept my smile, refusing to let her see my fear. Huh, you're pretty sharp for a human, I quipped, echoing her jab. I reached out with thought communication. Ryuga, can you hear me? Less than notice. Due to spatial interference from the barrier, the individual Ryuga, concealed in shadow, cannot respond. Greater than. Frustration surged, but I pressed on. Your doctrine calls for eliminating monsters, so why label me one? Her eyes narrowed. We have our sources. Sources, I muttered, mind racing. I always suppressed my aura in human form in Ingrasha. Sasaki's clones would have alerted me to spies. Who could have? Less than notice. The wide-range barrier has nullified magic perception. Senses now rely on physical dependence. Recommendation: maintain human form to preserve hearing and vision for combat preparation. Greater than. Hinata's voice cut through, sharp as her blade. Shall we get started? Less than warning. The wide-range barrier restricts all magical skills. Greater than. My jaw tightened. I'd prefer to discuss this first. Her lips curved into a chilling smile. Discuss. You and me. The smile vanished, replaced by a scowl. I'm not interested in the words of monsters. She lunged, her rapier a silver blur. I sidestepped, the blade grazing my cloak as I tore it off, the fabric fluttering to the ground. My body felt sluggish, weighed down by the barrier's oppressive force. Not a big problem, yet. A nimble evasion, despite your limited agility, she taunted, her voice calm but venomous. I drew my katana, parrying her next strike with a metallic clang. So the barriers you're doing? I accused, dodging another thrust. Yes, she said, almost bored. The Western Saints Church's anti-magic barrier, our holy field. It purifies wicked magicules, forcing monsters to burn their power just to exist. Lesser creatures would already be ash. Another strike came, faster this time. I dodged, but the weight of the barrier slowed me, and I barely avoided the tip of her rapier. She's testing me, wearing me down. Your friend who vanished wasn't in his true body, she continued, her voice calm but cutting. But he took grievous wounds trying to stop my subordinate from raising this field. Anger flared in my chest. You hurt my friend, I growled, my grip tightening on my katana. But since I know you through Shizu, her eyes flashed with something rage, before she cut me off. Don't speak her name. Her blade swung again, faster, fiercer. I blocked, but one strike slipped through, slicing across my arm. Pain seared through me, sharp and unnatural. Less than warning. Direct damage to spiritual body detected. Pain nullification inactive. Greater than. I gritted my teeth, forcing a grin. Troublesome. That sword's not playing. Nice. Hinata's eyes gleamed with cold satisfaction. Noticed, have you? This is my ultimate technique, 7 hits to certain demise. Most monsters don't realize until they're dead. I suppose you're stronger than I thought. She lunged again, and I dodged, her blade whistling past my ear. Now, I have reasons for my strength, but you're too emotional to listen. I ducked another swing, my movements growing heavier. Her shadow loomed as she raised her rapier. This is a job the captain of the Crusaders didn't need to do. She struck, and I dodged, but the barrier's weight slowed me, and her second strike grazed my side, pain flaring anew. 5 more, she said, flicking blood from her blade. I came because I wanted to kill you myself. I flipped backward, landing lightly despite the ache. Great Sage, is unique skill blocked too? Asterisk. Less than inquiry. Might you be referring to? Greater than. Hinata's paw. The air thrummed with an oppressive weight, the anti-magic barrier's invisible grip tightening around the battlefield. My rapier gleamed faintly in the dim light, its edge hungry for the monster before me, Riken, the so-called leader of the nation of monsters. His nimble movements were infuriating, his katana flashing as he dodged yet another of my strikes. 2 hits had landed, shallow cuts that should have slowed him, but his agility defied the holy field's draining pull. Sweat beaded on my brow, not from exertion but from the gnawing realization that this creature was no ordinary foe. He moved like a warrior forged in countless life or death battles, his instincts razor sharp despite the barrier's interference. My unique skill, Usurper, thrummed in my mind, analyzing his power, his weaknesses, anything I could exploit. Yet, each dodge, each parry, mocked my calculations. His human guise, those calm, almost playful eyes hid a monstrous strength that made my pulse quicken with both dread and exhilaration. This was no mere beast to be culled. This was a challenge. I suppose it's useless to drag this out, I muttered, my voice barely audible over the faint hum of the barrier. I raised my rapier, its blade catching the fading sunlight. No more games. I wouldn't give him time to think, to adapt. But what happened next shattered my composure. Usurper pulsed, its analysis flickering like a dying flame before delivering a verdict that sent a chill down my spine. Less than evaluation, failure. Target's power rising, greater than, rising. Within the holy field, where magicals were suffocated, where monsters should be reduced to frail husks. My grip tightened on my rapier, my mind racing. This was impossible. The barrier was the Western Saints' Church's ultimate weapon, a sanctified prison that purified wicked energy. Yet Riken stood undaunted, his aura swelling, a storm gathering within him. My heart pounded, not with fear but with a grim respect I couldn't afford to indulge. He sheathed his katana, a deliberate, almost ceremonial motion. His eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in them, regret, perhaps, or resolve. I didn't want to use this power against Shizu's student, he said, his voice low, carrying a weight that made my chest tighten. But you leave me no choice. I apologize in advance. Before I could process his words, he raised his left hand, fingers splayed wide in a swift, commanding gesture. A spark ignited in his palm, erupting into a blaze of crimson flames that crackled with unnatural intensity. My breath caught. Magic. Here, the barrier should have rendered such feats impossible. With a fluid motion, he extended his right arm, molding the fire into a searing arrow, its heat distorting the air as it took aim at me. Spirit magic. The realization hit like a blade to the gut. Not magicals, but the raw power of spirits, unbound by the barrier's constraints. Panic flickered in my chest, but I crushed it, my training taking over. Dangerous. Too dangerous. If that arrow struck, even I might not walk away unscathed. I charged, my rapier a silver streak as I closed the distance. The fiery arrow launched, a blazing comet hurtling toward me. I swung my blade, meeting it head-on. The collision erupted in a deafening explosion, heat washing over me, singeing the edges of my robes. The barrier contained the blast, but the force rattled my bones, my boots skidding back across the earth. I steadied myself, heart racing, my monocle fogging briefly from the heat. His aura was unlike anything I'd encountered, a tempest of power, raw and untamed, radiating from him like a beacon. Calamity class, asterisk, I thought, my mind racing. Or worse. The Western Saints Church had faced demons, dragons, and horrors beyond mortal ken, but this was something else entirely. My lips twitched into a grim smile, a mix of frustration and grudging admiration. That's a trick I've never seen before, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. Why, thank you, Riken replied, his smile infuriatingly carefree as he unsheathed his katana. The blade ignited, flames licking along its edge, casting flickering shadows across his face. I was hoping not to use it, though. Is it limited? I wondered. Could he not sustain that spirit magic for long, or was he holding back? The first scenario was my only hope. I couldn't let him dictate the pace of this fight. Spirit summons, I shouted, raising my rapier. Elemental spirits materialized at my command, sylphs of wind, salamanders of flame, undines of water swirling around me in a kaleidoscope of power. I sent them surging toward him, their forms a blur of elemental fury. But Riken moved like a specter, his flaming katana slicing through the spirits with terrifying precision. Sparks flew as he cleaved a salamander in two, its fiery form dissipating into embers. A sylph lunged, only to be bisected, its winds scattering harmlessly. My summons, the pride of the church's arsenal, crumbled before him. My jaw tightened. Even spirits can't touch him. Asterisk. I charged, seizing the moment. My rapier arced upward, aiming for his arm. The blade bit into flesh, the third strike landing with a satisfying jolt. I saw him wince, his movements slowing ever so slightly. Seems the barrier's catching up with you, I said, my voice cold, though my mind screamed to stay vigilant. Delaying this battle further could cost me everything. His eyes narrowed, but that infuriating smile remained. You're not wrong, he admitted, his tone almost conversational. But I'm not out of tricks yet. No more chances. I summoned the spirits again, this time commanding them to bind rather than attack. Vines of water and chains of wind lashed out, aiming to pin his arms, to halt that deadly katana. As they closed in, I began the chant, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. I offer this prayer to God. Heed my request. I seek the power of the spirits. Hear my desire and grant it to me. Creation, expend thyself. Disintegration. A magic circle blazed to life beneath Riken's feet, its intricate runes pulsing with holy light. From above, a colossal beam of radiant energy descended, a divine judgment meant to erase all trace of wickedness. The ground trembled, the air screaming as the light consumed everything in its path. I shielded my eyes, the brilliance searing even through my closed lids. When the light faded, I lowered my arm, my breath catching at the sight. A molten crater yawned where Riken had stood, its edges glowing red, the earth scorched and cracked. Nothing remained, no body, no trace of the monster who'd defied me. My shoulders sagged, a wave of relief washing over me, tinged with a strange, hollow ache. Asterisk Shizu's student. His words echoed in my mind, stirring memories I'd buried long ago. I shook my head, banishing the thought. He was a monster, a threat to humanity. My duty was clear. Goodbye, monster, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I slipped my monocle back on, its familiar weight grounding me. With a sharp gesture, I signaled for the barrier to be dismantled. The air lightened, the oppressive hum fading as the holy field collapsed. My mission was complete. Tempest's leader was no more, and with him, the heart of their nation would falter. Yet, as I turned to leave, a flicker of doubt gnawed at me. His power, his defiance, the way he'd wielded spirit magic within my barrier, it was too precise, too controlled. Had I truly ended him? Or had I merely delayed the inevitable? I clenched my fist, pushing the thought aside. The church's will was absolute, and I was its blade. Riken was gone, and that was enough. The path back to Ingrasha stretched before me, the trees whispering secrets I no longer cared to hear. My rapier hung at my side, its edge still warm from the battle. I walked on, the weight of my duty heavier than ever, the memory of Riken's burning katana seared into my mind. Riken's pav. As soon as I confirmed her presence had vanished from the area, no sounds, no residual aura. I slithered out of the dense underbrush, my gelatinous form quivering slightly from the aftershock of tension. Phew, I exhaled, though I didn't need to breathe. What the hell was that? My voice trembled, barely above a whisper. That was terrifying. I really thought I was going to die again. I didn't realize how tightly I was compressing myself until I relaxed. My form pulsed erratically as I tried to stabilize. The sensation of death brushing so close was all too familiar, yet no easier to bear. And yet, I was still here, barely. Extra skills, fate. I didn't think it would actually save me. Not this time, but still, it responded. It moved for me. Even in its fragmented state, it bent the rules around me, warped the laws of possibility. I could still sling high-tier elemental magic despite knowing full well I shouldn't be able to, not with the holy barrier sapping my energy and suppressing everything unnatural. But it worked, because doesn't obey logic, it doesn't care about what should happen. I dealt real damage. If I'd pushed further, leaned harder into spirit-enhanced elemental casting, maybe, just maybe I could have taken her down. But even now, I knew the truth. Even without that barrier, it still would have been close. Too close. That woman Hinata Sakaguchi, she wasn't just strong. She was absolute, ruthless, precise. Every movement she made felt like it had already been decided by a script I was never allowed to read. And for a moment, as I watched her eyes burn with unwavering purpose, I truly believed I was nothing more than a bug beneath her blade. Shizu's student. The thought stabbed through me like ice. There was a time I would have offered my respect. But now, a sudden ripple disturbed my shadow, and from it leapt a familiar presence. My master, Ryuga cried, frantic. You're alive. Yeah, somehow. My voice cracked slightly. I hadn't realized how much fear I'd kept bottled up until I heard someone else speak. The weight of survival hit me all at once, and it took effort to suppress the trembling in my limbs. But how did you survive that? Ryuga asked, eyes wide with disbelief. I glanced up, feeling the burn of fatigue ripple through my form. Sasaki's warning. It saved my life. Everything rushed back in an instant. Sasaki's voice, urgent and raw. The surge of instinct that followed. I didn't hesitate. I split, created a perfect clone and sent it to confront Hinata head-on, while I hid my real body in the thick brush, far beyond her detection. The real me pulled the strings, watched through its eyes, felt every hit. It was a gamble, I muttered, eyes narrowing. A desperate one. And yet, it worked. Just barely. The holy barrier gnawed at my existence, tried to starve me of magicules. I could feel my core unraveling. If it had gone on even a few seconds longer. That final attack, I whispered, recalling the white-hot arc of her blade cleaving through the clone. It would have killed me, no questions asked. Transforming into my human form, I rose to my feet with a heavy breath, surveying the area cautiously. Leaves still rustled from our clash. The air was thick with scorched magic and divine residue. The truth is, Master, Ryuga continued hesitantly, I tried to reach Sir Kokuyu earlier. I attempted Shadow Step, but I couldn't connect. Something's blocking it. What? I blinked, my breath catching. That's impossible, I growled, heart racing. The barrier's gone. I felt it vanish the moment she left. As if sensing my rising panic, the calm, cold voice of Great Sage echoed in my mind. Less than notice. It is possible that the destination is currently isolated by a high-grade spatial interference barrier. Greater than. My thoughts froze. I remembered her words, her mocking final glance. Your country is a nuisance. My blood ran cold, and then the gut-wrenching realization hit me like a freight train. My vision blurred, the forest around me spinning as dread began to suffocate me. Oh no, a deep part of me knew. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew. Something had happened, something terrible. Less than Great Sage, locate the nearest teleportation point. Anywhere safe now. Greater than, I barked. Less than searching. Nearest point located, calculating coordinates. Greater than. Ryuga. I turned, my voice sharp, decisive. We're leaving. Now. Yes, sir. I clenched my fists as the pressure in my chest grew unbearable. My mind raced with scenarios, each worse than the last. Tempest. My people. My friends. My family. What if she hadn't just threatened me? What if she'd already? I gritted my teeth, fury and fear boiling together in a maelstrom of helplessness. Just what the hell is Fartulus doing? I hissed under my breath, voice trembling with rage. And beneath that, a sinking feeling. Like I was already too late. Tempest's Crisis. A tale of loyalty and betrayal. Kokuyu's POV. The office hummed with the quiet rhythm of routine, papers rustling under my fingers as I sifted through reports on Tempest's infrastructure. The late afternoon sun slanted through the window, casting long shadows across the wooden desk. My quill scratched against parchment, a mundane counterpoint to the weight of responsibility that hung over me as one of Tempest's ministers. The air felt heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The communication orb on my desk flickered to life, its soft blue glow cutting through the stillness. Sasaki's voice crackled through, urgent and clipped. Kokuyu Dono, Falmouth is preparing for war. I froze, quill hovering mid-stroke, ink dripping onto the page. Falmouth is preparing for war. I repeated, my voice steady despite the sudden tightness in my chest. Against whom? There are no human nations openly hostile to them. Sasaki's sigh was audible even through the orb's static. That's right, but I'm struggling to pin down their target. The information is murky. Falmouth's movements are too secretive. I'm working on it, but it's slow going. My mind raced, piecing together possibilities. Falmouth's military was formidable, but their motives were opaque. Were they moving against a neighboring state? Or something closer? All right, I said, forcing calm into my tone. Report in the moment you learn anything concrete. Understood, Sasaki replied, and the orb dimmed, severing the connection. The room fell silent, but the weight of his words lingered. Gobu Ryo, standing nearby with a stack of supply ledgers, exchanged a glance with me. His brow furrowed, his usual jovial demeanor replaced by a grim unease. The other aides in the room shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between us. Questions hung unspoken in the air, thick as storm clouds. What's with those faces? A familiar voice cut through the tension, light but edged with authority. It's unlike a general to look so rattled. I turned to see Noah Dono leaning casually against the doorway, his arms crossed, a sheaf of papers tucked under one elbow. His dark hair fell loosely over his eyes, but his gaze was sharp, scanning the room with an intensity that belied his relaxed posture. Noah Dono, Gobu Ryo exclaimed, startled. What are you doing here? Noah shrugged, stepping inside. Helping Riri deliver some agricultural reports and updates on the school. But seriously, what happened? You all look like you've seen a ghost. I met his gaze, my voice low. A report came in. 100 armed humans are marching toward Tempest. His brow arched. Armed humans? Kokuyu Dono asked Sasaki Dono to investigate their origins, Gobu Ryo added, his tone heavy with suspicion. But something about this feels off. I'll inform Riken-sama, I said, decisiveness cutting through my unease. I turned to Gobu Ryo. Call Gorbet. Ensure the security forces are ready but don't act rashly. We can't afford to misstep. Gobu Ryo nodded, his expression resolute, and hurried out. I glanced at Noah, who was staring at the now dormant orb, his face uncharacteristically calm. Too calm. Was something weighing on him? Before I could ask, the orb flared to life again, its surface shimmering with static. A distorted image of Alvis, the beast-keeper of Eurazania, materialized, her voice fragmented but urgent. Calm, plea, come in, this is Alvis of the animal kingdom Eurazania speaking. Any ministers of Tempest, please respond. I have urgent tidings. I strode to the orb, my heart pounding. This is Kokuyu. You said it's an emergency. Speak. Her words came through in a rush, each syllable a hammer blow. 1 week from now, Eurazania will enter a state of war with Demon Lord Milam. The room froze. Papers slipped from an aide's hands, fluttering to the floor. Gobu Ryo, just returning, stopped dead in his tracks. My breath caught, the world narrowing to the orb's flickering light. What did you say? I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Alvis's image wavered, her voice strained. We request the use of your country for temporary evacuation. I apologize for the abruptness. Hey, wait, I shouted, desperation creeping in. What do you mean? Why is this happening? Nay, ip. The connection sputtered and died, leaving only silence. You're joking, I muttered, my hands trembling as I gripped the edge of the desk. The implications were staggering. Demon Lord Milam, a force of nature, waging war. And now Falmouth's movements. The timing was too perfect, too sinister. No's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts, low and dangerous. Kokuyu Dono, send out a warning to everyone. Now. What? I snapped, whirling to face him. Now, he growled, his calm facade cracking. Or the town will be caught in a pincer attack. Noah Dono, calm down. Gobu Ryo interjected, stepping forward. Explain, please. No's eyes blazed, his voice sharp as a blade. Demon Lord Milam and 100 armed humans. The timing's too coincidental. Contact everyone who needs to know now. I'm going to find Sakura. He bolted. From the room, his footsteps echoing down the hall. I exchanged a glance with Gobu Ryo, his face mirroring my own dread. Without another word, we set to work, relaying urgent orders to Tempest's fighting forces. The town was about to face a storm, and we had to be ready. Third person Pav. Chaos descends. Noah sprinted through Tempest's bustling streets, his heart hammering in his chest. The town's usual vibrancy, merchants haggling, children laughing, monsters and humans mingling, was tinged with an undercurrent of unease. He scanned the crowds for Sakura, his mind racing with Alvis's warning and the looming threat of Falmouth's forces. Finally, he spotted her lithe figure moving purposefully toward the central plaza. Sakura, he called, weaving through a group of hobgoblins. She turned, her dark eyes sharp with concern. No, Adono, I heard you left in a hurry after ordering a warning. What's happening? If you heard the warning, you know. He said, breathless. Armed humans are coming, and now Urizania's at war with Milam. It's bad. I know about the humans, Sakura said, her expression grim. I'm heading to the central plaza. There's a commotion there I need to check. A commotion? No's stomach twisted. Then go. I need to find the children. Some went to play in the forest. What? Sakura's eyes widened. Before either could say more, a ripple of energy pulsed through the air. Two shimmering barriers materialized above Tempest, their translucent domes glowing faintly against the darkening sky. Sakura staggered, her face paling. My power, she gasped, clutching her chest. The Magicules, they're weakening. Around them, monsters collapsed, their strength sapped by the barrier's oppressive aura. Human merchants, unaffected, stood frozen, staring at the fallen. No's blood ran cold. A trap. The central plaza, Sakura said, her voice urgent. I have to go. I'll get these people to safety and find the kids. Noah shouted, already moving to help a dazed orc to his feet. Sakura sprinted toward the plaza, her movements sluggish but determined. Noah guided the weakened monsters to a nearby shelter, his mind racing. The barriers, the humans, Milam, it was all converging too fast. He had to find the children. A commotion near one of the town's exits drew his attention, shouts, the clash of steel, and a chilling laugh. Noah ran toward the sound, his heart pounding. As he rounded a corner, he froze. Three familiar Majins, Nemu, Marie, and Foss, stood in a defensive semicircle, their weapons drawn against a towering human. The man, Zark, held a goblin child's lifeless body by the neck, dangling it like a trophy. Let me go, and I'll give this back, Zark sneered, his eyes glinting with malice. This brat's corpse means something to you, right? Disgusting, Nemu spat, her knuckles white around her staff. You make me sick, Marie growled, her twin daggers trembling in her grip. Zark chuckled, his voice dripping with contempt. Monsters acting tough. You're just brats. Foss lowered her dagger, her face pale. This man. Before anyone could move, a shadow loomed behind Zark. A hand clamped onto his head, fingers digging into his skull. No's voice was a low, venomous hiss. So it'll be a win if it wasn't a brat fighting you then. And Noah-san. Foss stammered, relief and fear warring in her eyes. Zurch's smirk faltered, but before he could react, flames erupted from No's hand, engulfing him in a roaring inferno. The human's scream was brief, swallowed by the fire's crackle. Noah moved with precision, snatching the goblin child's body before it could burn. He stood there, chest heaving, the air thick with the stench of charred flesh. He turned to the Majins, his voice low. You guys all right? Foss sobbed, clutching her dagger. I'm so sorry, Noah-san. I couldn't protect anything, not the residents, not Raiken-sama's wishes. No's jaw clenched, his eyes scanning the scattered bodies, goblins, orcs, children. It's not just you, we're all caught in this. He glanced up as Hobden, a grizzled member of Tempest's security force, approached, his face grim. There was another attack, Hobden said. Countless casualties. I'm surveying the damage. We're taking the victims to the plaza. Noah handed Foss the child's body, his voice tight. Help, Hobden. I'll handle the rest here. Why yes, sir, Foss whispered, her voice breaking. Noah turned to the alley where Zurch's fallen knights lay. Gorbet appeared, his face etched with grief. No, Adono. Noah didn't turn, his gaze fixed on the corpses. Tell everyone who fought these bastards they followed Raiken-sama's orders to protect themselves. No guilt for killing invasive insects. Quote. Thank you for saving them, Gorbet said quietly before leaving. Nose flames roared to life, consuming the knights' bodies in a blazing inferno. He let out a guttural roar, his fist slamming into the ground, leaving a crater. Memories of the murdered goblin child and the others flashed through his mind, mingling with older, darker memories of betrayal and loss. Humans. Humanity itself, he snarled, his voice breaking. Is this what we fought for? Damn it all, I couldn't protect anything, nothing at all. Third person POV. Central Plaza, 15 minutes earlier. The Central Plaza had been a vibrant hub of activity. Merchants bartered, children played, and the air buzzed with the harmony of Tempest's diverse populace. But 3 otherworlders, humans from another world, had entered with malice in their hearts. Gozo, a young hobgoblin with a kind smile, had been their first target. Carrara, a petite girl with venom in her eyes, accused him of groping her, her voice loud enough to draw a crowd. The onlookers murmured, some casting suspicious glances at Gozo, who stood frozen, his eyes wide with shock. I didn't, Gozo stammered, his voice trembling. Gribble, the vice captain of the security force, stepped forward, his presence calming the crowd. I'm very sorry about this, he said to Carrara, his tone polite but firm. He nudged Gozo to bow. I'll handle this. But I didn't do anything. Gozo protested, his voice cracking. Gribble placed a hand on his shoulder, his grin reassuring. You don't have the guts for that, kid. I know you're innocent. Gozo's eyes welled with tears, and he hugged Gribble tightly, relief washing over him. The crowd relaxed, some chuckling at the absurdity of the accusation. Carrara's face twisted with rage. Are you saying I'm lying? She shrieked, her hands balling into fists. Gribble met her gaze, unflinching. Yeah, I guess so. Carrara's voice rose, shrill and indignant. Screw you, you freak. You didn't even see it happen. Gribble sent a quick message through his communication device to Himiko, his superior. Himiko-sama, trouble in the Central Plaza. 3 humans. Akari and I are nearby, Himiko's voice crackled back. We'll be there soon. Delay any fighting. Understood, Gribble replied. He turned to Carrara, his tone light but cutting. Gozo here likes a certain type, voluptuous, you know. No offense, but you're not his type. The crowd erupted in laughter, and Gozo flushed with embarrassment. Carrara's face reddened, her eyes blazing. You bastards will pay, she screamed, her skill activating, her voice laced with a hypnotic command. Drop dead. Nothing happened. The crowd blinked, unaffected. Carrara's jaw dropped. Himiko emerged from the crowd, her presence commanding, her eyes cold. Your skill converts voice into brainwaves that disrupt the mind, she said, her voice calm but laced with steel. A dangerous power. I've neutralized it with my own skill. You tried to kill our guests, people who came here in good faith. Leave now. You're not welcome in Tempest. Carrara gaped, her bravado faltering. Shogo, a tall, muscular otherworlder, stepped forward, his smirk predatory. Big shot, didn't expect monsters to be such babes. Akari, Himiko's fierce companion, moved in front of her, her odachi planted firmly in the ground. Your vulgar thoughts are plain to see, she said, her voice low and dangerous. Leave, or forfeit your life. Shogo tossed his backpack aside, cracking his knuckles. I'll show you who's boss. Kyuya, the 3rd otherworlder, drew his sword, a dark grin spreading across his face. Guess it's time to test my skills. Akari scoffed, pulling her odachi free. You'll learn the hard way. Himiko's voice was a quiet warning. Akari, their aura is unsettling. Without your greatsword, this could be dangerous. Akari hesitated, her gaze softening. Riken-sama loves humans. I don't want to disappoint him. I'll handle this quickly, painlessly. She remembered Riken's words, spoken in a quiet moment. I hope for a day when we can coexist with humans without prejudice. Her resolve hardened. She wouldn't let him down. Akari charged Shogo, her fists a blur of motion. Her strength overwhelmed him at first, her punches driving him back. But then the barriers appeared, their oppressive energy sapping her power. She stumbled, her movements sluggish. Shogo laughed, his fists raised. What's wrong, lady? Feeling weak? Akari's eyes flicked to her odachi, stuck in the ground. A setup, she growled. Behind her, weakened monsters and human merchants scrambled to safety. She couldn't move. If she did, they'd be caught in the crossfire. Shogo's fist slammed into her, blood spraying from her mouth. Where's that vigor now? He taunted, striking again. Akari's vision blurred, but she stood her ground, protecting those behind her. Raiken-sama said to protect ourselves, she panted. Because of cowards like you, who stain his love for humanity. She landed a desperate punch, cutting Shogo's cheek. He snarled, raising his fist, then froze, hearing the galloping of horses. Armored knights approached, their leader shouting, "We're here to assist innocent citizens against these monsters." Shogo smirked, calling out, "We're being attacked. Help us." Akari's heart sank as a goblin child screamed nearby, cowering from the knight's advance. She sprinted toward the child, her heavy body straining against the barrier's effects. A knight's sword gleamed, descending toward the child. Akari threw herself forward, shielding the child with her body. In that fleeting moment, her thoughts raced. The faces of Tempest's residents, monsters and humans alike, flashed before her. Raiken's gentle smile lingered in her mind, his hopes for peace now crumbling. "My lord," she whispered, "the sword inches away. I couldn't keep your wishes. I'm sore." The blade fell, and the plaza erupted in chaos. Dot, 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 dot. Third-person POV. The alley reeked of scorched flesh and ash, the smoldering remains of the knights' corpses casting flickering shadows across the cracked cobblestones. No's fist still trembled from the crater it had carved into the ground, his roar of anguish echoing in his ears. His flames had consumed the invaders, but they couldn't burn away the memories, the lifeless goblin child, the shattered trust in humanity, the weight of his failures. His chest heaved, each breath a struggle against the rage and despair clawing at his heart. A voice, slick and venomous, slithered through the haze of his fury. Well, isn't it Noah-san, the champion?" The words dripped with mockery, each syllable a needle prick. "Burning bodies in alleys now. Quite the heroic tableau." No's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing as they locked onto the source. A figure leaned casually against the alley's entrance, cloaked in shadow but unmistakable. His silhouette sharp, his silver hair glinting faintly under the dim light of the barriers overhead. His smirk was a blade, cold and cruel, his amber eyes glinting with a predatory amusement that Noah knew all too well. "To think you're here," Noah growled, his voice low and jagged, like gravel underfoot. "My stomach drops when I think of anyone else having to deal with you, Arthur Renard." The name tasted like bile, a reminder of old wounds and older grudges. They weren't strangers, far from it. Their history was a tapestry of blood, betrayal, and unspoken promises, woven in the shadows of battles long past. Arthur chuckled, a sound as smooth as polished obsidian, but it carried a serrated edge. "Oh, Noah, I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be fun." His sarcasm was theatrical, his hands sweeping dramatically as if addressing an audience. "I mean, what's a party without the guest of honor? The great Noah, protector of monsters, reduced to playing cleanup in a back alley." Poetic, really. No's teeth ground together, the sound audible in the tense silence. "I'm not happy to see you, though," he spat, his voice a low snarl. His flames flickered at his fingertips, hungry for release. "You crawl out of whatever hole you've been hiding in, and the first thing you do is mock the dead. You're even lower than I remember." Arthur's smirk widened, unperturbed. He stepped forward, his boots clicking against the stone with deliberate slowness. "Low, oh, Noah, you wound me. And here I thought we were old friends, catching up like in the good old days." His voice took on a sing-song quality, dripping with mockery. "Or do you still hold a grudge over that little incident? What was her name again? The one you couldn't save?" No's vision flashed red, his flames surging in response. He lunged, his fist wreathed in fire, aiming for Arthur's smug face. The air crackled with heat, but Arthur sidestepped with infuriating ease, his movements fluid, almost lazy. The missed punch scorched the wall behind him, leaving a blackened scar. "TCH, still so predictable," Arthur taunted, brushing imaginary dust from his coat. "You know, Noah, you remind me of a certain spiky-haired hero I've seen in those otherworlder stories. All passion, no precision." What was it he said? "I'll never give up." He mimicked the line with exaggerated bravado, his voice pitching high before dropping back to its usual silken tone. "Pity you don't have his plot armor." No's eyes blazed, his flames coiling around him like a living beast. "Keep talking, Renard," he growled. "It'll make breaking your jaw that much sweeter." He surged forward again, this time feinting with a fiery jab before swinging a blazing kick toward Arthur's ribs. Arthur twisted, catching No's leg with a gloved hand, his grip like iron. "Oh, come now," he said, his voice laced with mock disappointment. "Is that all the champion has? I expected more from the man who swore to protect this pathetic little utopia. He shoved No's leg away, forcing him to stagger back. Tell me, does it sting? Knowing you're failing Riken's dream right now. No's heart lurched at the mention of Riken, but he masked it with a snarl. You don't get to say his name, he snapped, his flames flaring brighter. Who'd sell your own soul for a scrap of power? What's your game this time, Arthur? Why are you here? His voice was a blade, cutting through the sarcasm to demand answers. Arthur's eyes gleamed, a flicker of something darker passing through them, something that hinted at secrets buried deep. My game, he purred, tilting his head. Let's just say I'm an opportunist. Chaos is a great teacher, Noah. And this town, he gestured to the chaos beyond the alley, the screams, the clashing steel, the oppressive weight of the barriers. It's a classroom begging for a lesson. No's fists clenched, his flames roaring in response to his rising fury. You're behind this, aren't you? He accused, his voice low and dangerous. The barriers, the humans, the attack, it's got your stench all over it. Arthur raised an eyebrow, his smirk never faltering. Now, don't give me too much credit. I'm just one man. He paused, his tone turning icy. But if I were to guess, I'd say you're in over your head. Demon Lord Milam, Falmouth's army, and little old me. Sounds like a bad day for Tempest's hero. No's patience snapped. He roared, unleashing a torrent of flame that tore through the alley like a dragon's breath. Arthur dove to the side, rolling with an acrobat's grace, his coat singed but his smirk intact. Ooh, temper. He called, his voice mocking even as he drew a slender blade from his belt, its edge glinting with an unnatural sheen. Too bad your flames don't have a fancy name. Shut up, Noah bellowed, charging again. His fists were a blur, each strike laced with fire, but Arthur danced around them, his blade flashing as he parried and countered. The clash of steel and flame echoed through the alley, a symphony of violence underscored by their mutual loathing. You know, Arthur said between strikes, his voice infuriatingly calm, I've always admired your passion, Noah. Misguided, but admirable, like that one swordsman who keeps screaming about becoming the strongest. What was his name? Pity you don't have his sense of direction. No's flames surged hotter, his anger a furnace. You think this is a game? He snarled, catching Arthur's blade with a fiery hand, the metal hissing as it began to melt. People are dying, Arthur. Children are dying, and you're standing here cracking jokes like the coward you are. Arthur's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second, his eyes narrowing. Coward, he repeated, his voice low, almost a hiss. You're one to talk, hiding behind your flames and your precious lord's ideals. Tell me, Noah, how many have you failed today? How many more will die because you're too weak to stop it? The words struck like a blade, and No's grip on Arthur's sword tightened, the metal glowing red hot. I'll stop you, he growled, his voice trembling with conviction. Whatever you're planning, I'll burn it to ash. Arthur yanked his blade free, leaping back with a laugh that was more snarl than amusement. Big words for a man who's already lost so much. He twirled his sword, the movement almost hypnotic. But I'll let you in on a little secret, Noah. He gestured to the chaos beyond the alley. This is just the beginning. The real show hasn't even started. No's flames roared, illuminating the alley in a hellish glow. What are you planning? He demanded, his voice a low growl. What's your endgame, Renard? Arthur's smile was a crescent moon, sharp and enigmatic. Oh, Noah, where's the fun and spoilers? Let's just say I'm here to shake things up. And you, he pointed his blade at Noah, his eyes glinting with malice. You're just a spark in the inferno. Try not to get burned out too soon. Sakura's pav. Sakura's desperate stand. The barriers above Tempest pulsed like a malevolent heartbeat, sapping my strength with every step. My legs trembled, muscles burning as I forced myself through the crowded streets toward the central plaza. The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the metallic tang of blood, pierced by the chilling screams of terrified residents. Each cry drove a spike of fear into my chest, urging me faster despite the weakening grip of the barriers on my magicules. Hurry, Sakura, you have to hurry. I burst into a clearing in the alleyway, and my heart plummeted. The plaza was a nightmare of chaos. Flames licked at shattered stalls, blood pooled on the cobblestones, and armed humans in gleaming armor laughed amidst the carnage. Their swords gleamed with cruel intent, hacking at fleeing monsters and humans alike. The residents' screams tore through me, a chorus of despair that drowned out all reason. Without hesitation, I drew my katana, the blade singing as it sliced through the air. In a flash, I moved, my weakened body screaming in protest as I struck with precision. Steel shattered under my strikes, the humans' weapons breaking like brittle twigs. Their laughter turned to shouts of alarm as they stumbled back, retreating into the smoke-filled alleys. I let out a ragged gasp, my chest heaving, but my relief was short-lived. In the heart of the devastation knelt Himiko-sama, her robes stained with blood, her face pale as she cradled Gozo's limp form. A knight on horseback thundered toward her, his lance aimed at her heart. My voice tore from my throat. Himiko-sama. A clash of metal rang out, sharp and defiant. Kenzan appeared, his blade intercepting the lance just in time, the impact sending sparks flying. I sprinted to Himiko's side, dropping to my knees beside her. Gozo's face was ashen, blood trickling from his mouth, his eyes half open but unseeing. Himiko-sama, I gasped, my hands hovering over her, searching for wounds. Are you hurt? I'm fine, she choked out, her voice trembling as she clutched Gozo tighter. Don't mind me, help the others. Kenzan panted, his sword still raised. Himiko-sama, come on, get up. I'll help Gozo. His words faltered as Himiko gripped my sleeve, her trembling finger pointing toward a clearing in the smoke. Over there. I followed her gaze, and the world seemed to slow. The smoke parted, revealing Akari's lifeless body slumped on the ground, her arms wrapped protectively around a goblin child also dead. Blood soaked her armor, her odachi lying useless nearby. The sight was a dagger to my heart, twisting with every detail, her serene face, frozen in death, the child's tiny hands clutching her sleeve, the crimson pooling beneath them. No, the word escaped me, barely a whisper, as my knees buckled. Grief and rage churned within me, threatening to overwhelm the barrier's draining effect. A sudden explosion of white-hot flames erupted in the distance, their familiar hue cutting through the haze. No Adono. His fire was unmistakable, a beacon of fury and anguish. My heart clenched. He was out there, fighting, grieving. Kenzan's voice broke through my haze. Kojiro-sama, Gribble-kun. He gestured frantically to two figures slumped against a broken cart, their armor dented and bloodied but alive. Kojiro's chest heaved unevenly, and Gribble's arm hung at an unnatural angle. They needed help now. Himiko-sama, I began, but she nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I gently lifted Gozo from her arms, his body cold and heavy, and laid him among the growing row of corpses in the plaza. Each body was a silent accusation, a weight on my soul. I moved to Akari, my hands shaking as I lifted her and the child, placing them beside Gozo. Their stillness was unbearable. If only I'd been here sooner. My voice cracked, self-loathing clawing at me. I should have run faster, fought harder. Himiko shook her head, her voice soft but firm. No, Sakura, the attacks were everywhere. There was nothing more you could have done. Sakura, her voice broke as she clutched Akari-sama's broken horn, wrapping it carefully in a handkerchief. What are we going to do? Riken-sama, how will he react? The question hung heavy, unanswered. Riken-sama's dream of peace between monsters and humans lay shattered around us. Kenzan draped a blanket over Akari's body, his hands trembling. I turned to see three familiar Majins: Foss, Marie, and Nemu approaching, their faces bruised and bloodied but defiant. You three, Himiko gasped, fumbling for a potion bottle. Those injuries all heal you. No need, Foss said, waving her off. It's nothing. Save it for someone else, Marie added, her voice gruff. Yeah, we're fine, Nemu said, brushing dirt from her cloak. I stepped forward, pressing the potions into their hands. Take them, those who can be healed should be. They exchanged glances, then drank, their wounds knitting closed in moments. Foss grinned, flexing her healed arm. Thank you, Himiko-sama, Sakura-sama. We're good now, ready to help. Himiko shook her head. Rest for now, you've done enough. The three nodded reluctantly, stepping aside. My gaze drifted to the horizon, where No's flames had risen. The air still carried the echo of his fury, and I wondered what horrors he faced. Would you like to check on him? Himiko asked, her smile gentle but strained. He must be hurting too. I hesitated, picturing No's fiery resolve. No, if he hasn't gone on a rampage, he's holding back. Knowing him, he's already helping others. He's kind, Himiko said softly, her eyes distant. Just misunderstood because of his recklessness. I nodded, a faint smile tugging at my lips. Yeah, he's always been that way. But my thoughts turned outward, beyond the barriers. What was happening out there? Were more enemies closing in? The weight of the unknown pressed down, heavier than the barriers, draining force. I gripped my katana, its familiar weight grounding me. Whatever came next, I'd face it for Tempest, for Riken-sama, and for the Fallen. Dash 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 dash. Below is a concise introduction to each character, including their identity and race. 1. Noah. Identity. A powerful figure in Tempest, known as the champion, with a fiery temperament and strong combat abilities using flames. He is deeply loyal to Riken and protective of Tempest's residents, with a mysterious past tied to Arthur Renard. Race. Human. 2. Arthur Renard. Identity. A cunning and manipulative person with a history of conflict with Noah. He appears to be involved in the chaos affecting Tempest, with a sarcastic demeanor and hidden motives. Race. Unknown. 3. Kokuyu. Identity. Formerly Ogre Prince. Now Samurai General, a Commander-in-Chief and Minister of Defense, responsible for handling critical communications and coordinating responses to threats. Race. Kijin. 4. Gobu Ryo. Identity. Goblin King. Prime Minister of Tempest, working alongside Kokuyu. Race. Hobgoblin. 5. Sasaki. Identity. Dark Shinobi. Leader of Shadow Squad and Minister of Intelligence, tasked with gathering information on external threats. Race. Kijin. 6. Gorbet. Identity. Son of Gobu Ryo and head of security for Tempest, responsible for coordinating the town's defenses. Race. Hobgoblin. 7. Sakura. Identity. A skilled warrior from the original Goblin village aided by Riken, now a key figure in Tempest, quick to respond to threats like the Central Plaza commotion. Name after of Cherry Blossom, because of pink hair. Race. Goblina from the Goblin village, evolved. 8. Nemu. Identity. A Majin warrior in Tempest, part of a trio with Marie and Foss, defending against invaders. Race. Majin. 9. Marie. Identity. A fierce Majin warrior, part of the trio with Nemu and Foss, fighting to protect Tempest's residents. Race. Majin. 10. Foss. Identity. A young Majin warrior, part of the trio with Nemu and Marie. Race. Majin. 11. Zark. Identity. A cruel human invader who taunts Tempest's defenders, holding a goblin child's corpse to provoke them. Race. Human. 12. Hobton. Identity. A member of Tempest's security force, patrolling the city and managing the aftermath of the attack. Race. Hobgoblin. 13. Gozo. Identity. A member of Tempest's security force, patrolling the city. An innocent-looking hobgoblin. Race. Hobgoblin. 14. Gribble. Identity. Vice Captain of Tempest's security force, quick to defuse conflicts and protect residents. Race. Hobgoblin. 15. Hamiko. Identity. Ogre Princess. Chief Economic Advisor together with Gobu Ryo. Race. Kijin. 16. Akari. Identity. A fierce warrior and secretary to Riken, skilled in combat but hesitant to kill humans due to Riken's ideals, fighting to protect the plaza. Race. Kijin. To be continued.